Eddie Bravo's favorite catchphrase. Look into it. If you can control your breath, you can control your mind, right? The Tibetans, they say the mind is like the wind, it's like the horse wind, and the breath is how you can control that horse.
Hello, this is James Cox. Welcome to the Martial Arts Lifestyle Show. Today we're in episode number 89, and I have a special guest with me from California. This is Khoei, lifelong martial artist, man. You've done a lot from Shotokan, Muay Thai, BJJ is really active today, training. And this guy's training hard and long, and he's 53 years young. I call it young because we're the same age right now. Also implementing a lot of meditation work, a lot of yoga, and he has some valuable lessons for us today on recovery and training with injuries and being older in your martial arts training, as well as some products he's developed, some potent CBD, as well as breathwork. Breathwork is a real thing. We hear about it all the time. You know, all these tips and pointers on controlling your breathing. But I'm going to let you get started, sir. If you want to kind of introduce yourself, talk to us a little bit about what you got going on.
Appreciate it, James. Thank you for having me on. Yes, I've been just, I got caught in the Bruce Lee craze back in the 70s when I was just a kid, and I've been a lifelong martial artist ever since. And I got turned on to this, what they call the temple back in the early 80s, and it was a Shotokan and yoga mixture. You had to go there 4 hours a day, 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours at night, 5 days a week. And then on the sixth day was only, they would cut you a break and it would be only 2 hours. And so during those days, I learned kind of this, the yogic breathing called pranayama yoga, which is, has helped me all throughout my journey for the past 40 some odd years. 35, 37 years of doing martial arts, in terms of being able to never have to sit out, always make it through to the end, you know, no matter how hard things are, how harsh things get, and how demanding the workout. I feel like the breathing can help. And a lot of the younger, newer guys that come to the academies that I work in, when they start to kind of gas out, I tell them to, hey, control your breath. This is how you do it. There's some techniques that I teach them. But basically, the story began, the story of BJJ for me began when I was doing the Kyokushin karate, and I was 45 years old, and I was getting super banged up, you know, breaking fingers, toes, cracking ribs. It's just Kyokushin can be really hard.
Yeah, and those are so opposite. Sorry to interrupt you, but man, you're talking Kyokushin, Masoyama, hard style karate, and then yoga. I mean, what a yin and yang there, right? What night and day. And then to move to a grappling art of Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. So, quite a shock, right? In that change of systems.
Yeah, I mean, I started doing the BJJ. So the karate was a couple of days a week only. So I got permission to start at the Charles Gracie Academy in San Mateo. And over there, I saw that it's also full contact, but there's no striking, right? So I started enjoying that. One for a year, I was going that 1 day a week, and then after that, I just decided, you know, there was one Christmas, it was the last workout, the karate workout before the Christmas break, and I came home like my ribs were bruised. It took the entire break, and I was still pretty banged up, and I'm like, you know what? I think my body just can't take this kind of abuse anymore. You know, I need to just calm down. And so I went back and I just started going to jujitsu the whole time, Brazilian jiu-jitsu the whole time, instead of splitting my time between Brazilian jiu-jitsu and the full contact karate. And then over the years, I've started to ramp up my Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and I do since November of 21. Um, I've been doing since, 6 days a week Brazilian
Oh
jiu-jitsu.
wow.
Yeah,
The
I don't.
last 2 years you've been doing
Yeah,
6 days a week of jujitsu. That's
yeah.
awesome, man. Congrats.
Thank you. Yeah, I go 3 days to one academy, my main academy and 3 days at Kyotera. So I go 3 days Charles Gracie, 3 days Kyotera, both of them in San Jose, California. And it's good. It's been good. And the way I keep limber is by doing yoga every day. I do this Tibetan yoga, which is not very well known. It's been kept secret for millennia, and only since kind of the Chinese attacked Tibet and the Tibetan monks had to run away and become live in exile, that kind of the Dalai Lama green lighted sharing the secrets of Tibetan yoga with the greater world, the greater population. So in a way, they say the silver lining. There's it's joy with suffering. Yeah, you're suffering because your country's under siege and your religion's under attack and your people are killed and you're living in exile. I'm talking about the Tibetans. And then, but the joy is that now you get to share this Tibetan Dharma with the
Mm.
world, where before that it was just all being kept in secret. So the beauty of the Tibetan yoga is that it's a mashup of about four different channels of the Indian yoga. So you have kind of the meditation, the breath work, the visualization, the mantra, and the movements. It's like five different things, and you're doing it all simultaneously. So if you're doing that for a half an hour every morning, that's a legitimate, you're expanding your kind of lung capacity, you're expanding your focus, your visualization ability, concentration, and you're also doing kind of the stretches that require limberness, and it's been really good. So I do that, and I do the regular Indian yoga. In fact, I just got my visa approval for going to I'm traveling to Kolkata for 3 weeks yoga teacher training at Ghosh Yoga College. And Vishnu Ghosh was the teacher of Bikram, the hot yoga, the Bikram
Mm-hmm.
Chaudhary guy,
Okay.
Bikram Yoga. He learned his skill from this guy named Vishnu Ghosh. And his granddaughter, Vishnu Ghosh's granddaughter, still running Ghosh Yoga College out of Kolkata. And this is actually their 100-year anniversary. So since 1923.
That's awesome. Man, that's going to be powerful. 3 weeks there, right? Quite
Yeah.
transforming and pretty empowering, which I'm sure you're going to get out of it. I like that you're saying in the morning you're doing about 30 minutes of the yoga. I feel that we could squeeze that in. Time. It is what it is, man. Time. But to be able to squeeze in maybe a 30-minute session and get those kind of benefits and value is priceless, right?
So there's this BJJ Globetrotters. I don't know if you've heard of them, called Belt Checker. And once you go to Belt Checker, you kind of verify your belt. Yeah, yeah. People have to vote, make sure that you put any certifications, whatever you have. But then the app has this thing called a training history. So you're basically keeping track of your workouts. And I try and do 1,000 minutes a week of workouts. I mean, of between BJJ yoga and meditation, my goal is to do 1,000 minutes, which is roughly about 17 hours, right? So you're talking 2.5 hours a day on
Mm.
average, 2.5, 3 hours a day. So people tell me, how do how come you work out so much? How do you find the time? And it's like, I work out so much because I'm trying to not work. Just the more I work out, the less I have to work. But all jokes aside, the thing about doing a half an hour in the morning of this Tibetan yoga, the way it's helped me is that it's a fixed sequence of things that you're doing, and you're doing it in a seated position. So the legs portion of it is the fact that you're sitting for a half an hour and like
Hmm.
you know in the easy seating, which is the crisscross applesauce style seating. But the sequence of the movements, which is all kind of, it starts from the head and neck and shoulders and chest, arms, everything else, plus the breath holds, they really, really help out. And I feel that you really feel like you're getting some sort of a superpower with the visualization and the physical as well as the mental and the breathing combined, the three of them. So you have the mental, the physical, and the breath combined, and it's a fixed sequence. So you don't have to learn 1,000 things and then not do any of them. It's just like it's like these five things, do these five things, and this five sequence, do three each. And you look up the clock, 30 minutes are up. It's fine.
Yeah, that's cool. This is available. Is it pretty easy to find? Just a little research. This.
Yeah, it's if you look up it's called Salung, Tsalung. That's kind of the sequence, the Salung sequence. And the breath work is called the nine breathings of purification. So if you look up those two things, if you Google those two things, the nine breathings and the Salung, then yeah, you'll see that's the
Good.
sequences that I use.
Yeah, that's good. I wanna look those up. Yeah, and I'll check that app out too. What did you say that?
Belt checker.
Okay, all right, gotcha.
It's a website, and it's a website, and you can also use mobile to grab it. I don't know. They might have an app too. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, Christian Grogart from BJJ Globetrotters, really cool guy. I've gone to five of his camps. They're week-long camps, and you go there, and it's like going to like 18 seminars in 1 week
Mm,
because he has
yeah.
all these black belts that come in and do these 1 hour seminars back to back for 10, 12 hours a day. So as many of them as you can go.
That's a lot of training, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good. It's really, really good.
And you're seeing a lot of benefits in yourself and getting through some of the injuries, or so you're pretty healthy now. What about past injuries from the hard training?
Yeah,
And
so I mean I injured my knee and it took from like May of last year until like 6 weeks ago. It was the first time that I wasn't wearing the knee braces. Not the braces, but the knee guards. So some of these injuries they can take a long time to heal, especially when you get kind of long in the tooth, right? The thing about consistently doing yoga and mobility exercises is that it reduces the chances of injury. The other thing about reducing injury is that you just got to remember one thing. It's not a fight to the death. Okay, guys?
Right.
yeah, right. You don't have to prove so much all the time, right?
It's not a fight to the death. It's like, yeah, one of the things that I also do this thing called Tumo, which is the inner fire meditation. It's the inner fire breath. It's this kind of what Wim Hof does is similar to it. It's not the Tibetan version of it. He has come up with his own version, but this inner fire meditation called Tumo, where you're visualizing a fire in your gut and you're visualizing it just rising up kind of the central channel and so on. One of the things about not having to do a fight to the death, for me, it started when I started doing Tumo, and the objective of Tumo was to fuel this fire with what they call the self-pitying imagination. They're like, imagine the fire, internal fire, okay? And then to keep it burning and fuel it, you imagine your self-pitying imagination is the fuel, is kind of the wood that you're throwing on that fire. And the self-pitying imagination, once you start burning through it, then that starts burning up your ego as well. So you're not
Mm,
worried so much about what somebody thinks about you or how they're going to look at you. Like, oh, if as a brown belt, I'm just having to defend the whole time from this like 25-year-old white belt, I mean, blue belt or purple belt that's lifting weights, 3 hours a day. And he's taking like pre-workout scoops of pre-workout powder straight in his mouth instead of having to
mhm.
like dilute it in water. And then he and I started rolling, and he's like 220, and I weigh 195, and I end up having to defend the whole time. Is that gonna bother me? Am I gonna go apeshit trying to avoid having to do that and just go on that deck? No, I don't care. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not focused on losing or competing or proving something.
Yeah, I mean that's fine. If I'm because a lot of the guys that got at Kyotera, they're competitors, right? And they're young, and you go to they go to the competition class, and you go to the Kyotera has the CTA, CTB, and CTC, which is the kind of they don't have any white belts coming to the CTC. You have to have a color belt. So some of the guys that are just monsters, they're coming in there, and it's like fine. I'll roll with any of them, and if I end up being on the defense the whole time, it's fine because I've hopefully gotten rid of this self-pitying imagination. Oh, poor me, forget it.
Yeah. That's a lot of controlling your own emotions, right? Because, yeah.
Control them. For me, a win, I was just saying before we started recording, for me, a win is during the roll and after the roll, and even after the whole class, after like 4 or 5 rolls, I'm looking at my pace of breath versus my partner's pace of breath. I could say that pretty much, I would say 99% of the time, my breathing is at a slower pace than anybody else's that I'm rolling with. Even the black belts that are just mauling me, they're breathing much, much harder than I am. And I owe a lot of that to this Tibetan yoga because the Tibetan yoga, you're taking a breath. It's called vase breathing. You're breathing in, you're visualizing the channels where you're breathing. You push it down into your stomach and then you swallow to keep it down into your stomach and seal it. And while you're holding that breath, you're doing the whole sequence of yoga and then you breathe out. By the time you're done doing that, you could really do these amazing kind of breath hold stuff, which then when you're looking like, oh, I'm breathing shallow or I'm breathing frequently out of control, my breath is out of control, you could just say, hold your breath for a second. It's fine. Just hold your breath, calm down. My wife hates it when I say that. Shh, calm down. It's
Right,
like, I'll
right,
kill
right.
you.
Yeah, that's awesome. I see, why you're getting those benefits. I need to do a little more myself. I find myself rushing my meditation, which defeats the purpose, right? I got to hurry because I have things to do and places to go. But to be lost in that present moment, and just focus on the breath itself.
Or if you're holding the breath, then when you're breathing so hard during the roll, you're like, dude, I can literally I can do breath holds to where my respiration rate is like 8 breaths per minute or 6 breaths per minute instead of the typical 14 to 16 breaths. And you're doing that
Yeah, yeah.
sustained for like a half an hour because of this kind of Tibetan yoga exercises, which just requires that. My old kind of teacher from the temple days, he used to say he was a funny guy. So I don't know how much I would take him seriously in terms of he was like, your body can run from here to LA. It's your mind that stops it. And I don't know if your body can run from here to LA, probably can't. But I get the point is that the mind has amazing powers, and you hear this all the time. It's such a cliche now, right? To say, "Oh, the mind."
Yeah, look at like David Goggins and the, people that have done incredible things with that right mindset. But yeah, definitely that mind controls the body, right?
So
Yeah.
yeah, and so the thing is that you don't discover what your mind can do until your body is pushed. Like you can't just sit there and say, "Yeah, my mind can." I'm getting mauled by this black belt, but I can slow down my breath because my mind said so. You can't do it like that. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, you need to experience. Yeah, you need to experience in those trenches.
And then later you're like, oh yeah, I did that, so I could do it again. It's fine, not a big deal.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Go through some of the struggle, get dirty in the trenches, right? And then you find out how it works. Maybe sometimes at first the hard way, and then you learn, right?
Yeah. Speaking of
Yeah.
dirty work, I think that's a good shoe-in for why I started doing this product, the XCBD. People are like, "What's XCBD?" And what's the difference between XCBD and CBD? First of all, XCBD is just a brand. It's kind of like Kleenex versus tissue. But I started saying, well, the XCBD means extra strong, extra strength CBD. And so what happened is from all the kind of before I started getting into the Tibetan yoga, I don't need as much of it now, admittedly. I still use some of it. But before I started getting Tibetan yoga, I was using all this stuff like tiger balm, tiger liniment,
Mm-hmm.
China gel, and 1,001 different pain rubs and muscle rubs. And I started looking at the CBD stuff, and it was, it was hit and miss. Some of them worked, some of them didn't work. Then I'm a little bit of a geek, I like reading a lot of stuff. So I started looking at clinical trials data, and I found this document. It's a clinical trial document summary. It's dosage, efficacy, and safety of cannabinoidal administration in adults. Systematic review of human trials. So I looked at this, looked at the table, and looked at the dosages, and I'm like, oh my God, this dosages on the stuff that you buy at the store is nothing.
Mm.
You might as well have nothing in it. Just cross out CBD because the dosages, a single dose for anything that's in this clinical trial stuff, it starts at 100 milligrams for a single dose. But you could buy like a tub of, CBD rub, and it'll have like 500 milligrams in the whole tub. It's like, that means a single dose not going to have anything in it. Like 500 milligrams. 1 gram is 1 million. No, 1 gram is 1,000 milligrams, right? So the point is that it had hardly any CBD in it at all. So I started developing this product that has 100 milligrams of CBD in a single dose. The way I determine the dosing is that I put it in these single dose packages. The idea came to me from the pandemic. They were doing these single dose packages of the hand sanitizer.
Right.
And I'm like, hey, I really like that because you don't have to think about how much do I put on. You just break this thing, you fold it in half, you pour it out, and you put on all of it. And it's 100 milligrams of CBD in a single dose. It's not so the CBD, there's two different types. Well, there's one CBD, but there's one that's kind of just a straight CBD powder. They call it CBD isolate. And then there's this broad spectrum CBD, which has all the other kind of cannabinoids in it, like CBN, CBG, and so on. So that has an entourage effect. And then there's the full spectrum, which has the THC in it too. This is not that. This doesn't have the THC. It's zero THC. It's lab tested for zero THC. But it's the broad spectrum, so it has the other cannabinoids in there, so that you could get the entourage effect of those.
Mm. It's just more potent, right? It definitely has more in it. So, as a consumer, we don't know what we don't know, right? And marketing sells, and if it was, uh, I don't know, just thinking that we were getting something out of it and we wasn't. But you developed this product that is definitely more pure. I like the convenience of a single pack too, right? Easy, you can't really mess up.
It's a lot of times we get it and we're like, how much do I put on? Right? Do I
Mm.
rub it on 3 times or 5 times? Do I, keep rubbing it on? What do I do? So this takes that out of the equation. You fold the package, you drip it out, you use all of it. And next time you're ready for some, get another package. And the price
Mm.
point's so low on a per package basis that it's the same as buying the really kind of super strength. Like if you take that 100 milligram and you translate it into a roll-on bottle size, like a 3 ounce roll-on bottle, it would be a 6,000 milligram roll-on. So normally, I have some samples over here. I have this stuff that's like a 3 ounce and it has 100 milligram in the whole 3 ounce. It's a roll-on.
Right.
3 ounce roll on has 100 milligrams in it.
Yeah,
And
it's almost more a placebo, right? But we don't know
it's,
that we're
yeah,
wasting money and getting
yeah,
nothing out of it. Yeah.
yeah. And people, people using it like, yeah, it works. And it's like, yeah, it works because of the other ingredients. It's not the CBD, which is fine. If it works, it works. If the placebo works there's a percentage of people, it's like the normal curve, right? There's a percentage of people that placebo totally works for. They're on the right side of the normal, the bell-shaped curve. Then there are people in the middle that's a hit and miss. And there are some people that the placebo doesn't work for. Like if you're the type of person that placebo works for you, then you're lucky.
What are people getting from this product? What have you heard as far as honest results? And then where do we find it?
Yeah, so I've been giving it to basically people at both academies, both at the Kayatera Academy and at Charles Gracie Academy. And I debuted it at World Masters 2023 in Vegas, and I gave samples to a bunch of the competitors there. A lot of them have actually reached out to see if we're accepting sponsorships, which we are. So if an athlete wants, and they don't have to be a BJJ athlete, they could be any athlete. If they want us to sponsor them, we can. My goal for this product is just to break even. I'm not because I earn my income from SalesX, my main business, which is the digital advertising agency. But for this product, I just want people to be able to benefit from something that's real. If they can help get the word out, and the result is that we don't make money on them, we just break even, or we don't make money on the people that they bring on, and we just break even. That's fine.
Yeah, that sounds good. Is there a site to go to, or?
Yeah, it's just xcbd.com.
All right. Yeah, I want to check it out. Well, I mean, all your experience and these decades, what are some of the most valuable lessons you've learned? Martial arts is a beautiful thing that we're able to do, and people are different. But what are your biggest takeaways that you would, you wouldn't give up?
Yeah, well, the main thing, the biggest thing, and I would say that the strongest, most valuable thing for me has been that martial arts create this awareness. You kind of create this like spidey senses where you can sense trouble before it comes to a boil. I can't tell you enough, James. Like countless times where I've been in an environment where I sense that there's some trouble brewing because I have this awareness cultivated through martial arts. And I tell the people I'm with, I'm like, let's get out of here, guys. And then we leave, and as we're walking out the door, a fight breaks out.
Yeah, it's an intuition, right?
How many times, like, you notice something is going to happen before it happens? You don't have a crystal ball. Obviously, you're not noticing it weeks in advance. But a lot of times, 30 seconds, 15 seconds, 45 seconds, 1 minute, you don't need a lot of time. All you need to, like Mr. Miyagi was saying, best defense, no be there. It's like the best thing to stay out of trouble is that you don't want to be there when the trouble starts. And that is a sense that has I've cultivated. I mean, it started with my Shotokan days when I got my black belt from Funakoshi Shotokan out in San Jose. Shion Kenneth Funakoshi and his son Kyle back in 1999, and from those days even I've had that sense of being able to avoid trouble. And the other kind of two things is people, I mean, these things are secondary. This is for people that are hesitant to start. People are like, yeah, I gotta get in shape so I can start jujitsu. And I'm like, no, you start jujitsu to get in shape. You don't get in
Yeah.
shape to start jujitsu. Or they're like, oh, I need to be more flexible. I need to do some stretches to start yoga. It's like, no, you start yoga to become more flexible. It's a misconception, and maybe it's that for me, just because I haven't had the, I honestly, my hat's off to the people that go to the gym and can regularly get a workout in. They're better people than I am because I'm too lazy for that. So the beauty of martial arts for me has been that there's only one thing I need to do is get there. Once I get through that front door mark, the rest of it is going to work out.
Yeah, you're so right, man. I love those points too, Joe. We got to trust our own intuition, and you have a higher sense of awareness, and to be aware of your surroundings, paying attention with stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, I hear it all the time with the martial arts and people, maybe talking to the parents of the students in my class on getting going, and they either think they're too old or they're going to go get in shape first, right? Or they're going to wait till January because the New Year's resolutions. But dude, that the time is now. You might go through a little bit of uncomfortable to get comfortable, a little of the bad to get to the good, but just get in there and do it, and then you'll be glad you did. Or what are you going to wait for? Tomorrow. When is tomorrow? Tomorrow, and then it just never
Yeah,
comes.
one of the things that I heard somebody say was a really good point. They're like, "Oh, it's going to take 10 years plus to get a black belt and whatever." I'm like, "Well, do you plan to be alive 10 years from now?"
Right. What else are you going to
You know,
do?
but people ask me, they're like, "How do you make it to the academy so frequently? How do you motivate yourself?" And it's like, I don't, man. I grab myself by the back of the neck like
Yeah.
this, and I just drag myself to the car. That's
Yep.
like,
Yep.
it's not like I'm sitting up saying, "Let's go, I'm ready." I'm not
Yeah.
ready. I'm never ready. I just
Yeah.
have to drag myself there.
So many times, man. The hardest part is just to get on the mat, and then the magic happens, right? But just to get there, it's the same with going to the gym. But you found a good alternative through adding the yoga and meditation with your martial arts training, where you're getting those benefits. Well, man, I want to appreciate and respect your time. But if you have anything you want to close with, tips, pointers, words of wisdom or advice, then I like what you've had to say so far. And yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Well, the only thing I would encourage, because I'm thinking that your listeners are going to be the martial arts crowd and people that are already interested in the martial arts. I would say that look into, like, Eddie Bravo's favorite catchphrase. Look into it. If you can control your breath, you can control your mind, right? The Tibetans, they say the mind is like the wind. It's like the horse wind, and the breath is how you can control that horse. So if you can control the breath, look into pranayama yoga, look into various types of breath meditation. One easy way to do, like a super easy technique to do, is you could download like a like a metronome app, metronome for the piano where it goes counts tick tock.
Hmm.
You can download like a metronome app, and you could do an easy meditation, breath meditation, where you just put the app on 60 beats per minute. You turn it on, and you do 4 beats inhale, 4 beats exhale, no hold. So you just inhale, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4. Do that for 5 minutes. I've had guys that are overweight. They come in as soon as you start doing something, they're and they're just gassing out. And I give them that exercise, and now they're holding their own. They're rolling 4 or 5 rounds. They're fine. They're still breathing
Nice.
hard because they're overweight, but they're not gassing out from the word go. And so that's just a super simple exercise, the 4 count, 4 in, 4 out, no pause in between. But if you start looking into pranayama yoga, uh, breath work, or look into Tibetan yoga, there's a lot of breath related stuff. Another Tibetan type of yoga is called Nijang, Nejang. All of these things, they have this breath work component, and it will help for sure with anything that you're trying to do.
Yeah, I love it, man. Well, let's do it, guys. Yeah. So control your breath, control your mind. Yeah, I appreciate it. Well, Joe, it was a great interview. Thanks for the time and advice. And let's stay in touch. I want to reach out to you about some of those things you talked about. So,
Absolutely, my
yeah,
pleasure. Thank you so much,
yeah,
James.
yeah. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. You guys, thanks again. Be sure to check out all our other podcasts as well as the YouTube channel, James Cox Martial Arts.